In today's Michael Keaton video, he plays, how can I put it, more than one version of himself.
Hey Steve.
My name's Luke.
Doug just never seems to have enough time for everything.
I feel guilty because I don't spend enough time with my wife and my kids.
You don't have to live this way.
By a miracle of modern science,
I make clones.
Between the two of us, we're gonna get a lot of stuff done.
2.
Like you meet 3. We made a copy from 2.
Are you nuts?
Michael Keaton in Multiplicity. This month on MAV TV, American Real.
Welcome to day 17 of Michael Keaton Month, where I'll be reviewing all the movies that Michael Keaton has appeared in. Today I'm talking about Multiplicity, an awesome comedy movie from 1996 to be specific. July 17th, 1996, which I've taken off Wikipedia because IMDb Mobile is, you guessed it, wrong! So the tagline for the movie is, sometimes to get more out of life, you have to make more of yourself. The plot of the movie revolves around the central character of Doug Kinney, played by Michael Keaton of course. He has a wife, Laura, played by Andie MacDowell, and his life is so hectic that he has to clone himself in order to get the things done that he needs to get done. He's a contractor, in construction, and he's, just really trying to juggle all this work that he's got going. And his wife Laura, she's like, we got the kids now, the little son and daughter, and I want to go back to work. I want to start working again. Her job was in real estate, selling houses, and he's like, you can't do that. It's too much. So she's pissed off. She wants to work. And he's doing this job, this construction job in this kind of scientific lab kind of area. And that was a really bad way to put it, but it's this laboratory somewhere, I don't know. And one of his workmen kind of busts a pipe, and Keaton just flips out, starts bashing stuff up, and this kind of bearded scientist notices him and goes, you seem like you're a man who's got a lot on his plate. He's like, I can change your life, and he basically offers to clone him for a price, of course. So Keaton takes him up on it after being convinced. I mean, at first he's like, this is bullshit, and then the scientist clone walks into the room. Although my first reaction would be, oh, okay, so you've got twins. At which point I would have thought maybe if they had a third clone come in, it might have been a bit more convincing. But nevertheless, Doug, he's like, alright then, let's get this other clone. And this clone is an exact copy of him, and it has all his memories, and everything. It is, all intents and purposes, another version of him, exactly identical, but now it can kind of live on its own, on his own kind of course, and they'll diverge as the time goes on. So he gets this clone of himself called Number 2 to go to work for him. And he just takes over. He goes to Doug's work, he does all the construction, he does even better than Doug used to do it, and he's like really on the ball. But of course Doug doesn't want his wife Laura to see Number 2, so Number 2 lives in their den above the garage, like a little apartment above the garage area. And then he's kind of annoyed, but Number 2's annoyed by that. He's like, so I don't get to, see my wife. And Doug's like, no, and that's rule number 1, or the only rule even, no sleeping with my wife, only I sleep with my wife, No clone sex. And then he basically has nothing to do. He's like, well, I'll just be a stay-at-home dad, I've got to look after the kids. And then it starts to mount up on him. It's almost like a throwback to Mr. Mom, and he can't deal with it, so he gets another clone. He makes Number 3. And Number 3 comes out a little bit differently. By this point, Number 2 has kind of become more of a gruff kind of person. He finds one of Doug's old leather jackets, and he puts on his, I like this jacket. And he's a bit more of a slob and stuff, and he gets stuff done, and he's doing all the work and all this, and he wants to go out and sleep with women because he's sexually frustrated. And then you got Number 3, who's more like a kind of, hi Doug, and he's just got this weird kind of almost effeminate but not quite effeminate kind of feel to him. He's a bit womanly. He loves cooking and getting everything nice and tidy and stuff, and it's just these little twerks, these little tiny little inflections on the character that Keaton does that makes it stand out. He wears like the jumper over the shoulder, or a little jumper with a little polo shirt. It's just like little touches like that. The wardrobe, the way the character acts, to the point where you see one of the clones or one of the versions of Doug in the movie and you don't even really need to hear them speak, or because they have a slightly different voice, I guess you could say. Number 2's more gruff, number 3's more high and effeminate. You don't even need to hear them, just the body language. Keaton, I thought he was amazing in this movie. So funny as well, really, really funny. For my money, one of his best comedic performances ever. This movie wasn't received well. In fact, I think it didn't even make back half of its budget. I think I might be guessing on that. Nope, yeah, that's right. There was a budget of 45 million, and it made 21 million, so it lost a lot. It was a bomb, and it wasn't rated well either, which is a real shame. Harold Ramis directed this movie. I'm a big fan of Harold Ramis as a director and as an actor, particularly in the 80s and early 90s. But yeah, it's just a shame because I think this movie is great. There's a bit of a heart to it. There's a bit of the kind of dramatic element. Doug realizes that he's really neglecting his wife Laura, and that may not even be down to the fact that he hasn't got enough time to do things just in general, and that's what he kind of realizes throughout the film. But really, it's just a lot of fun, with him interacting with the other versions of himself. There is these amazing scenes where it literally just is Keaton in a room, just talking to no one, and then filming the shot again, doing the other angle, And I don't know what it is, but obviously digital effects were used for some of the shots in the movie. It's not quite as simple as just a simple split screen effect, which anyone can do these days. You can do it. I can do it right now. But there are certain ways that they kind of made it more impressive. Like they have a shot of Doug and number 2 kind of doing a chest pump, and physically touching. And there's a shot. In fact, I'm going to go to the trivia for this because I want to get it right. This is really interesting, I thought. There's a shot in which Doug introduces number 3 to number 2, and number 2 tosses a beer to Doug. So it's his first clone throwing a beer to himself, and he catches it in the same shot. Now Keaton tossed the beer to a stunt double, and then they did the shot again, but Keaton's toss was so perfectly matched to what the body double did. Sorry, actually it was Keaton shooting it with the body double. The body double throwing him the beer can. So he caught it, and then he went and did the version of the clone throwing it, and his throw was so perfect that they didn't even need to do a digital effect. What they were going to do was they were going to delete the actual physical beer can and put a digital one in there to blend the shot. But it was so perfect the way that he threw his arm that they didn't need to use digital effects for that. They could literally just pop that other version of him, paint it straight over the scene. This saved the production quite a bit of money and was referred to by the special effects crew as the $1 million miracle beer can toss. But again, it saved them money, but not enough apparently, because they lost $24 million on this movie. See if there's any more trivia. Not really. So the movie, yeah, a 4th clone is introduced, number 4, and this was out of Doug's kind of out of his approval. He turns up one night and they're partying, and he's like, "Turn the music down." And he notices there's 3 of them there, and the 3rd one, the other 2 clones went and got done. And then, as they say in the movie, it's like making a copy of a copy. You lose a generation. So number 4 is just well, how do I put it in a politically correct term? Special, I guess you could say. I guess I could quote another kind of another character from another movie, Tropic Thunder, where Robert Downey Jr.'s character says, "You never go full retard, man." Which he doesn't. Keaton doesn't. But number 4 is crazy. He's always wearing weird stuff, like a boot on his head, and just like pizza down his face like that, and just like just a kid basically. It's almost like if Keaton was in Dumb and Dumber, but then like multiply it. It's ridiculous. But I liked it. It's fun. They didn't overuse number 4. Like he's got a weird kind of like voice as well, and just I think if they overused that character, it could have gone even further into, oh, this is a bit too much now. And I guess a lot of people thought that even just that one character was too much because, again, obviously this movie wasn't received well at all, to be honest. Andie MacDowell in the film, Laura, she was good. I felt like she didn't have quite enough. I don't know. She was good, but her character wasn't that interesting to me. But I enjoyed what she did in the movie. There's a pretty funny sequence where she basically sleeps with all 3 clones in the same night, and just the way that it's all worked out and stuff, and it is really funny. And just in general, Keaton just interacting with himself and pulling off these different versions of the characters. I just fucking love this movie. It's so good. I can watch it so many times. It's just, it just feels perfectly kind of balanced the whole way through. You know, it just seems so natural the way that it starts, and you get the concept, the clones, and then another clone. How does that work? How does Doug not only juggle his work life, his family life, his me time, but then also avoiding the clones and making sure all the clones know all the stories so that nothing gets crossed. There's a bit where he takes his wife out and says, "You got to stop, you know, your job," and then he notices the number 2 is across the way on a date with a woman, and then they end up switching places accidentally, and it's just, oh, it's an awesome movie. I love it. Eugene Levy is in this movie as a kind of side character as well. Some other good actors in this movie. And generally, it's just really fun, and just seeing some of the the special effects shots they did really cool. Like there's a lot of times where it'll be all 4 versions of Doug in the same shot, and it's really impressive. And you can see where they did it, but I have a feeling if they did it now, it would be much more noticeable. I think it'd be over digitized, it'd be over digitally manipulated, and I just feel like there's such a charm about it being in the mid-90s. You know, visual effects and computer digital effects were really in their kind of infancy, or at least, you know, adolescent stage, I guess you could say. But I just find that there's a charm to this movie, and that runs over to the special effects as well. I thought Keaton was awesome, and all round one of my favourite movies that he's done. Definitely one of my favourite of his comedic performances. Yeah, that's really about it. I mean, I guess another piece of trivia was that Andie MacDowell also appeared in Groundhog Day, another movie directed by Ramis a few years before this, in which I thought her character was a lot better in that movie. Much more developed of a character, I thought. But Multiplicity, awesome movie. Really enjoy it. Just the different ways that he plays the characters and everything is just fantastic. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. That's my review. Thanks for watching. Make sure to join me next day for more Michael Keaton reviews. And thanks for watching. I think I already said that. See ya.
I watched your film this afternoon, Multiplicity.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you one thing. Well, I'll just tell you everything I want. I have comments about the film. All right. First of all, this has got a great cast.
Oh,
this has got a terrific cast.
Yes, it does.
You have in this movie the guy. I don't care what it is he does. He's always very, very funny. Eugene Levy.
Oh, he's very funny.
He's just very, very funny.
And he starts the movie. He's right in the first scene.
But the whole film, I just laughed out loud through the whole damn thing. It's a great piece of work.
Thanks,
very,
man.
very
Thank
funny.
you.
Because you know the concept of the movie is like cloning, right?
Right, exactly.
They can now make like one version of you, or 2 versions of you, or 3 versions of you. And so in the beginning, you think, well, what is this, like a science fiction kind of deal? And the next thing you know, it's very, very funny.
Oh, thanks.
You should be very, very happy.
Coming from you, that's a great compliment.
Well, I appreciate
serious.
that.
It's fun. It's a very funny movie. It really delivers. You know, it's about a guy who's unable to maintain any kind of normalcy in his life because he doesn't have the time.
It's crazy.
His life is nuts.
Yeah.
His life is nuts. You just got to see it. And then it gets a little worse and a little worse, and the 2 clones have themselves cloned.
They get
so
a
I
clone
end up
for
playing
themselves.
4 guys.
And there's something wrong with their clone.
Oh, yeah.
There's something really, really wrong.
Yeah, there is.
Because it's described as like Xerox copies.
Bad
the 4th
copy.
you're down a little toner.
Yes, you are.
But I don't want to talk too much about stuff people haven't seen, but the thing that really, really made me laugh, the scene with Lance and Rico. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And you say, I don't know, you must be Lance, and of course it's very, very funny.
Well, we're talking about his film, Multiplicity film. This is a very, very funny film. As I was saying to you during the break there, I like this film because it has a good heart. You play a man who has himself cloned because he wants to keep his marriage together.
His marriage and his job and his life.
You know, most guys, if they could make an extra guy, they'd be out doing something else. But that's not the intent. So, no, the movie has a good heart, and that's why my wife liked it, too. She said, oh, the guy's just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, good. It is. It's a really, first of all, it's really funny. And you know, Harold Ramis, you know, is just the right guy for this. I mean, he just did such a great job.
Didn't he do Groundhog
Day? Yeah, he's the director of the picture, and Andie's just the best. And
Now, let me ask you about, you know what's so funny, because I watched you play these 3 guys, and I've seen you be each one of those guys. Like, the Broadway guy is like the number 2 kind of clone. But like the number 1 guy is who?
Number 1, well, the first clone is cloned because his function is to go out and make stuff happen. He's very aggressive. He's very business oriented. He, you know, a lot of this. He just gets the job done. You know what I mean? He gets. This might be a little disgusting, but he's one of these guys. You know, you got a tissue? Nah, don't worry about it. One of those. Yeah. Number 3, you know, is a little more prim and proper and does things the correct way.
He's like the nurturer.
He's a nurturer and a loving guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's one very funny scene where you're talking to your wife and you're going, "Oh, your hair."
Yeah.
And you're telling her how to do her hair.
Yeah, because she needed more height. I just wanted to frame her better. And of course, 4 is just off. You know, 4 is, there are two little moments that people may recognize that I lifted. I stole Jerry Lewis. I just did. I just did him. I just went out and did him. I said I stole 2 times in the movie where I did him. And
well, that's the number 4 clone.
Number 4, yeah.
But well, see, we should see the thing I like the fact is that
You know the perfect state for Jerry Lewis?
perfect state.
Yeah.
You mean like State of the Union?
Yeah, Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Lots of vowels. Because where are you staying, Jerry? Where are you going to be in Hawaii? I'm at the Hawaii Hand Mahela. Are you staying? What are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? I'll hit you so hard, I'll kill him.
Okay, you're still watching after the end of the video. That's because there's one more thing I want to talk about and mention, because this usually happens. I actually filmed this review yesterday and I wasn't happy with it, so I refilmed it today because there's a few things I didn't mention. And there was another thing I didn't mention, so I'm going to add it in the end here because I have time. My favourite line in the movie is when number 3, the effeminate version of Doug, he sleeps with Laura in bed, just sleeping. Doug finds him, drags him out to the den, and he's there with number 2 and number 3. He's like, again, you know, repeating the one rule: you do not sleep with my wife. And he's like, I didn't sleep, no, I was literally, I nodded off. She wanted to go to bed, you weren't home, there was nothing I could do. And then he gets into an argument. Doug gets into an argument with number 2, you know, the more gruff version. And Doug says, listen, I'll hit you so hard he'll feel it. Which I thought was a genius line. And there's another bit where number 3 has to go into this construction inspection on number 2's behalf, because number 2's dealing with all the work at this point. Number 3 is doing all the stay-at-home dad stuff, and so he hasn't got a clue about the construction job, even though he's supposed to have this knowledge of, you know, he's supposed to have all of Doug's previous memories and stuff. So it kind of doesn't work, but you give it creative license, you can get away with it. It's a comedy at the end of the day. There's nothing, you can't really analyze it that much. And the inspector who's inspecting the site, he's like, you know, why is there 1-inch pipes there? Why is this like that? Number 3's like, what? You know, and he keeps running out to phone number 2. But the inspector is played by the guy who played Otho in Beetlejuice. Yes, I didn't bother looking up the actor's name. I'm sorry, I apologise, but I thought it was a funny note because he was in Beetlejuice, and it's a nice little Keaton connection there. He had noticeably gained a lot of weight at that point, though. But yeah, just two of my favourite scenes in a great movie. Oh, one more thing. This is spoiler territory, though. Near the end of the movie, Laura gets frustrated with Doug because she's seeing all these different personalities, and she finally kind of gets all her feelings out to the back of number 4, the retard version, who's there just playing around with wood and stuff, and he's like, and she can only see the back of his head, and she's like, just say something to me. Do you still love me? What do you want? And number 4 goes, pizza. What? I want pizza. Give me pizza. So I just thought it's one of the harshest moments in a film I've ever seen. The fact that she thought that that was Doug, and she's like, you know, do you still love me? What do you want? And he's like, I want pizza. Ridiculous.